Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel once again. CAP Social Network, also known as Capri Social Network. And in today's video, folks, I want to talk about the hardships, the trials and tribulations of being a black male in America. From the time, gentlemen, and this is on behalf of all of my brothers who follow my channel, all of my African American brothers who may follow my channel. Because from the time you were small boys in school, for some of you, have some of you who may have started um, going to school as far back as during kindergarten, your kindergarten years, and preschool years. I know quite a bit of you could relate to getting in trouble, getting out of line while in class, and having to be subservient to a teacher, a female teacher, who in most cases are usually Caucasian teachers, and especially on behalf of you brothers that may have went to integrated schools, which I'm sure some of you could relate to even more. Although I went to mostly inner city schools, or to put it another way, black schools, where as I hardly ever really got a chance to interact with any Caucasian classmates or classmates of other races. To add to that, and in addition, I was a good kid throughout the whole time I was in high school, quiet, uh, came to school, went about my business, did my work. I was one of those kind of kids who never caused any trouble in school. Anyway, on behalf of you who did, though, from the time you may have started, like I was just stating, as far back as preschool, what it may have been either preschool or kindergarten, I'm sure quite a bit of you can relate to where I'm coming from when you will have either a white male teacher or a white female teacher or Caucasian, if you want to be more technical. And in most cases, they're usually Caucasian female teachers that happen to teach more and get certified more. Anyway, anytime you would get quote unquote either quote unquote out of pocket or out of line, fellas, as far back as being that young, and you will be in a classroom when other races of kids, does I guarantee you the same white boys or what even Hispanic classmates, male classmates, whenever they would get out of pocket, either out of pocket or out of line, out of hand, they would face minimum consequences or minimal consequences, whereas you would usually get sent to detention and face chances of being suspended from school, even if it may have been the case whereas the student of another race may have started bullying you and may have been the main perpetrator of the whole entire incident. You will still have to face dire consequences as a result of being a black male or an African American male, if you want to be more technical. And this is where it all starts out, fellas, gentlemen, as far back as during your much younger years. Because, and my point of saying this is, us African American males are, you could say in a sense, doomed due to the trials and tribulations that we usually have to go through just being an African American male, from having to get pulled over anytime you may go to an affluent neighborhood or a suburb that's mostly populated by Caucasians. As a black male, just minding your own business while driving, having to face and deal with Caucasian, in most cases, police officers harassing you, pulling you over. Whereas anytime that same Caucasian guy that's the same age as you may drive through the same community or neighborhoods, They face hardly any chances in most cases of getting pulled over, being harassed by police officers, even if it may be happen to be a black police officer on duty in those same areas. Caucasian males are hardly ever targeted. And then when you factor in all the incidents over the past few years, where as people such as Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, who else? Tamir Rice, and as of lately, George Floyd, all were targeted and due to their race. Because I guarantee you, if the same Caucasian guys, the same within the same age brackets of each and every last one of those African American males would have been accused of committing the same crimes, although what they got accused of or alleged of was something petty, something that the average Caucasian male would have gotten let go on, so to speak. Once again, this is a prime example of how us African American males are always and will always be targets, always be some of the most disrespectful group of males in America compared to all other races. With that being said, I also wanted to factor in how if you're an African American male who happens to be one of authority on a job, such as in the likes of either a manager or a supervisor, you have to deal with the consequences, especially when it comes to where from dealing with your very own people, group of people, black people, to happen to be the overseer of or either other groups of people. You have to, most of the time, you will have to deal with lack of respect from those people, those, whether you may be, once again, your own fellow African American employees to some of your other employees that may be of another race. In some shape or form, you will be one of the most disrespectful managers, either managers or supervisors, compared to a white Caucasian overseer, whether it may be either a Caucasian male or a Caucasian woman. Because I have even seen it from in my very own eyes, where on my current job, this one supervisor who is not actually a supervisor, but he's more so of a fill-in supervisor, if you catch my drift. He it's been times before when I have seen my very own group of people disrespect this same supervisor, whereas it's this other supervisor who happens to be an actual supervisor, a frontline supervisor, and a Caucasian male who happens to be in his 50s, who I never ever has seen get disrespectful, not or disrespected, excuse me, not once. Once again, this is a primary example of the hardships and struggles of being an African male. Excuse me, once again, folks, and for stumbling over my words. Anyway, of being an African American male in the United States. How you, we, none of us will ever get the exact kind of respect as our Caucasian or white counterparts, no matter how successful we may have it. You don't, if you don't believe me, look at what's been happening as of lately to Will Smith in the media. Like I talked about on a previous video, from guys such as Will Smith, to Tyrese, the Dwight Howard, and as of lately P Diddy, some of the most elite groups of guys and most famous groups of black males out there, that the average blue collar working African American male who the average black American male, blue collar, hard working black American male would give almost anything to be in these guys' shoes. Guys that aren't, and no homo, some not some of the most uh, ugliest guys, the guys that aren't by a long shot unattractive either. Is what I'm trying to say. Look from, I mean, if you, for instance, if you look at what Tyrese is going through when his former marriage, how his ex-wife is, might as well say, trying to quote unquote drag him through the mud, how she keeps on, in other words, keep on trying to get more and more money out of him. And Tyrese is one of the most talented actors, in my personal opinion. You could debate me all you want to, ladies and gentlemen, but I feel like Tyrese, aka Tyrese Gibson, which is his government name, is one of the most talented African American actors out there. He is also known to be a best-selling author. As of lately, he has a net worth, if I'm not mistaken, of around $3 million, and he's been in the game for a minute. As long as I can recall, I remember him taking off and bursting onto the scene back during the latter half of the 1990s when he did his Coca-Cola commercial and he was on the bus. I was thinking to myself, when I saw him even then, which was over 20 something years ago, I know it's hard to believe how time flies. This brother really has some potential and has talent. I mean, from then on, spot on, I saw the potential in this brother. And he has a whole lot of films. I mean, a whole lot as a part of his resume. Will Smith is another very talented actor, African American actor, who could pull off practically any role that he may get to play as a part of his very successful and extensive acting record, because he first burst onto the scene rapping. I remember it quite well when he first got into the game as a rapper, as a part of the group DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Even though he didn't have that much fame as part of being a rapper, personally, I feel like his career really popped off when he first started making it in the Hollywood scene, because this brother is just hands down one of the most successful, not only one of the most successful African American actors other than Denzel Washington, but one of the most talented African American actors in Hollywood. Although I don't like what he's going through, because he has to deal with his wife walking all over him and disrespecting him. And as of lately, he's been having to deal with accusations of him being involved in a same-sex affair with the actor known for being married, for the most part, to former Martin actress Tisha Campbell, Dwayne Martin. And Will Smith, if I'm not mistaken, has a net worth of over $300 million. Dwight Howard is another one, someone who quite pretty much everybody knows due to his stint in the NBA, and one of the most athletic former athletes too, one of the most athletic and gifted former NBA players. At 6 feet, if I'm not mistaken, he's 6 feet 10 inches tall, probably close to 300 pounds, mostly consumed of muscle. I mean, this brother really is known for his excellent and exceptional athletic ability, and he has partaken in quite a bit of, when he was in the NBA All-Star games. He's an 8-time NBA All-Star. He happens to also be awarded, he happened to be awarded a few times in the past as the NBA Defensive Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, as well. He even won a slam dunk contest during the latter half of the previous 2 decades. I believe it was during, and don't quote me on this, folks, NBA slam dunk contest. By the way, I thank whoever has been joining me as a part of my live stream, and I really want to commend you. Although there was another person I just spotted who actually joined me, but for some reason they just decided to leave the live stream. However, it's all good though. Anyway, The White Howard, if I'm not mistaken, has a net worth of over $140 million. But look at what he's been going through, all the accusations and allegations that he's been going through of partaking in orgies with not only women, but males as well. And also after having to deal with allegations of one of his children molesting, and this is alleged, folks, one of his ex-girlfriends, I believe, children, if I'm not mistaken, which is another example of how us as African American males, no matter how successful we may get, we would never ever be respected as opposed to our white counterparts. We will never be taken seriously. And not only that, but if you look at how we're portrayed in the media, from guys such as Wesley Snipes, the guys such as Tay Diggs, Tyler Perry, Terry Crews, Ving Rhames, some of the most masculine and successful, more successful, more examples of successful African American males who really made it big as a result of their long stints of Hollywood. Whether you know it or not, it's always a movie where the Black American male is always either feminized or emasculated. And back to Will Smith, his very first movie, and don't quote me on that, was a movie by the name of what was the name of that movie? Um, I forgot the name of that movie, but it was during the early '90s when he played as a gay male, and from what I heard, he happened to had to do a scene, end up doing a scene in one part of the film where he actually had to partake in having sex by a white male in the movie. And that's another example of how, even when it comes to celebrities as successful as Will Smith and prominent as Will Smith, he even had to, you could say, quote unquote, bow down in order to make it big in Hollywood. And it just goes on and on the list of how some of the most uh, prestige and elite African American, successful and famous African American males are either feminized, emasculated, or looked at as hoodlums. Because how many times, folks, for all you who may watch Tubi movies, may watch African American movies, how many times is the African American male always misrepresented or labeled as a criminal? If not a criminal, usually a woman abuser. If not that, usually he's usually portrayed or perceived in films as a con artist, a scammer. If not that, usually a womanizer who goes from woman to woman in the movies. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I pay attention to a lot of things. I'm very observant, and I personally I find myself being more, even that much more observant and aware by me being a 41-year-old Black American male. Because I look at it from this perspective as well, ladies and gentlemen. With the more older you get, the more observant you come. Let me turn this around, so because I kind of don't like showing this window in my office, and I'm sure sometimes it could be a distraction to some of you viewers and followers of my channel. Anyway, but back to the topic. I look at it from this angle, both this angle and perspective as well. With the more older you get in life, the more your perspective changes on things. Because my perspective, if when I look at my life back to, and going back as far as when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, up until now, my whole perspective, once again, excuse me, folks, for stumbling over my words, has changed in life. I mean, from how I view relationships, the family dynamics, And I could go on and on. I could keep on going on and on. But anyway, and back to the topic. Us as African American males, once again, ladies and gentlemen, and I would not quit stressing it enough, will never ever be fully respected in society. No matter if you would maybe that average hard working blue collar African American brother who's doing all you can to work your way up the corporate ladder, so to speak. In other words, maybe working on a job as a stocker, a grocery stocker at a local Target store or whichever other grocery store, only to at the same time partake in taking classes at a college, at a local college, to be able to move your way up on the job. Once you were to move your way or work your way up on that job, for instance, whether you may work your way up to become either a manager or a CEO of your very own grocery store, you still will have to, in most cases, quote unquote, bow down to a white male overseer. Point blank, period, point blank. Because we are looked at, you can also say we are looked at in a sense as small children, the way we have to go through so much disrespect. Even if you may be a guy that may happen to be married and may have been married to your wife for X amount of years, you may be a guy when all the accolades, all the from being in the military, and as a result of winning so many awards from your dedication to being in the military, or if not that, being part of a fraternity and making it big, big enough to the extent where you could become the president of the United States. After all, look at what all former President Barack Obama had to go through as an African American male, being having one of the most successful and prominent careers slash occupations any African American would be able to have, and very few African American males still don't really care to partake in becoming the president of the U.S. But I digress. Once again, look at what all he had to go through as a result of him being an African American male, one that's half African American, of half African American descent. He still got treated just as worse as the average dark-skinned African American male after the whole entire 8-year stint that he served in the White House, which is another example, folks, of some of the main trials and tribulations that comes with being an African American male, from being labeled, having to be labeled as either a homosexual, if not that, even if you're one of the most masculine, in some cases, if you're a very hyper masculine African American male, you, if you're part of Hollywood, mark my words, you will have to face it where you will have to partake in film roles that will test your manhood, that will, where you will have to, in some cases, go as far as having to wear a dress. Because look at Tyler Perry. Look how he had to make it big in Hollywood. All he had to do, because what's he's known for on a universal level? What is the main character he's known for? The My Dear character. And Tyler Perry, the killing part about Tyler Perry is at least 6'5" tall. He would be the last person. Am I right or wrong, folks? He would be one of the last people, though, you would imagine having to stoop as low as being dressed in drag. And look at how P. Diddy, as of lately, has been thrown under the mud ever since Cassie accused him of all these accusations and allegations. Now, I don't know whether to believe whether they're true or not, in a sense, though, I'm starting to believe more and more they're true, especially because on behalf of how fast he ended up paying her out on behalf of the lawsuit she had pending towards him. And after hearing so many allegations from him, because I remember quite well hearing accusations about him as far back as when I was in high school, of homosexual accusations, both homosexual accusations and allegations. And judging from my understanding, P. Diddy, judging from what I recently checked on behalf of his network, he has a network, and don't quote me because it may have changed since and as a result of the settlement between him, both himself and Cassie a few days ago. But at the time, he it said um, according to our website, celebritynetwork.com, his network, by once again, this was just a few days ago, folks, literally a few days ago, his network happened to be $1 billion. Now, with all that money, look at what he's having to go through. And it also uh, relates to the song More Money, More Promise that he made when Mace, rapper Mace, who happened to leave the or step down from being a rapper to becoming a preacher. Either way, this relates with the money, what the when the song More Money, More Problems that both him and Mace made, that when the more money you have, especially when it comes to being an African American male, when the more money and success that you have as African American male, the much more of a target you become, and the more problems it usually comes with as well. The more people always are doing all they can to quote unquote drag you down. Because look at take as two more perfect and prime examples where it's happened lately to Bill Cosby and where R. Kelly had to end up going through. Michael Jackson, the late Michael Jackson, where the accusations and allegations that he had to deal with. Michael Jackson, in my personal opinion, was one of the most famous celebrities, one of the most famous singers in the world, and he always will be. But look at how he had to end up getting his reputation tarnished. Once again, this is a prime example. These three other celebrities I just mentioned, from Bill Cosby to R. Kelly to Michael Jackson, of how us black men were never African American men, excuse me, for some of you who may have offense by how I always use the term when I refer to my own very own race as black. Once again, let me rephrase that. Us African American males will never ever fully be respected, regardless. Anyway, I'm not going to keep on dragging this video. Once again, I thank whoever has joined my live stream. I can't see. I was trying to see who it was. But once again, I thank you for joining. And I thank you more than anything for the likes as well. Let me check the top chat. Maybe that'll indicate. I just checked the live chat, but for some reason, I'm still not seeing who's partaking in it. Anyway, I'm not going to keep on dragging this video because I already have proved my point. After this video is already almost at the 30-minute mark. For all of my people, all of my fans or followers that may have been following me for quite some time, including from as far back as a year ago when I had just literally one subscriber, you already know the deal, what to do. I already know routine. However, and on that note, for some of my brand new followers, some of my newbies, make sure you first and foremost like the video, you comment on it, you share it. Last but not least, you subscribe to my channel. When you do choose to subscribe to my channel, you'll have choices to pick to be notified of. No upcoming videos at all, either no upcoming videos at all, personalized videos, or all videos. Make sure you choose to get notified of all of my upcoming videos and content on my channel. Until next time, God bless.